There's a quiet kind of magic in November on Walton's mountain. The air turns crisp, the last golden leaves cling to the trees, and the scent of cinnamon, sage, and baking pies drifts from kitchen windows, a promise of gratitude, of gathering, of coming home. In this season of harvest and reflection, the Walton family prepares not just a feast, but a renewal of bonds, tested by time, distance, and the fragile uncertainties of life. This is the story of a Thanksgiving like no other. A story of hope deferred and courage reclaimed inside the Walton home. The women and children move with purpose. Olivia, Grandma, Mary Ellen, and Elizabeth bustling around the stove and table, kneading dough, roasting chestnuts, and setting the china with care. Outside, the men work the sawmill, their laughter mingling with the rhythmic thunk of falling timber. And in the midst of it all, John Boy Walton stands caught between two worlds, the boy he was and the man he longs to become. He carries a letter in his pocket, confirmation that his university application is in process. But greater than academic ambition is the flutter of anticipation he feels at the news that Jenny Pendleton is returning, coming home for Thanksgiving. After a full year apart, a year since their tender, whirlwind romance. A year of letters, silence, and whispered questions left unanswered. Eager to contribute, and perhaps prove himself, John Boy volunteers to help his father and brothers with the lumber order. But fate, as it often does on Walton's mountain, intercedes with quiet violence. A loose belt snaps on the saw, whipping back like a lash, striking him squarely in the temple. He falls, blood streaks his brow. Yet, ever the stoic eldest son, he brushes it off, insists he's fine. No fuss, no rest. But in the hours that follow, no one sees the tremors that shake his hands, or the blurring at the edges of his vision, a silent storm gathering behind his eyes. Later, alone at the old Pendleton house, a place heavy with memory, John Boy sweeps dust from corners and scrubs soot from the hearth, hoping to welcome Jenny back to something restored, something worth returning to. But time, as it turns out, has its own schedule. Jenny and her stepmother Eula arrive a day early and find him, red-faced and covered head to toe in ash, crouched in the fireplace. The reunion is sweet, yes, but awkward. A year has passed, and in that year, rumors traveled faster than letters, whispers of John Boy and Marcia Woolery. A friendship turned complicated, a heart trying to mend while still tender. Yet, beneath the hesitation, something remains, that spark, that knowing. They choose, gently, to begin again. Not as they were, but as they might be. But the body keeps its own ledger. When John Boy visits Reverend Fordwick to request a letter of recommendation for his scholarship, his legs give way. He collapses. Alone, shaken, he makes a quiet vow. Just get through the exam. Just one more test, then I'll rest. He arrives at the school, pale but determined, pen in hand, mind racing. But halfway through the exam, the world dissolves. Words swim, light fractures. His vision fails, and with it, his chance. Panic is swallowed by love. Olivia and John Sr. rush him to Dr. Vance. The diagnosis is grave, a slow bleed pressing on the brain. Surgery is urgent and risky. Blindness, paralysis, even death, all possibilities. In the quiet of the examination room, John Boy does not flinch. Do it, he says. And the surgery, against all odds, is a success. But relief is fleeting. The scholarship deadline looms. University admission hangs in the balance. Weak but resolute, John Boy turns to Miss Emily Hunter, his teacher, his champion, and asks, "Is there any way? Just one more chance?" She does not hesitate. Days later, still bandaged, still pale, John Boy sits up in his hospital bed. Dr. Vance adjusts the pillows. A nurse brings a tray, a pen, the exam booklet. There is no clock, only courage. With trembling hands and a steady heart, he writes, not just answers, but hope. Page after page, line after line. And when he finishes, when he sets the pen down, he does something rare for him. He allows himself to rest. Meanwhile, life, as it must, goes on around him. Young Jason, ever curious and industrious, accepts a job, 50 cents a day, helping the Baldwin sisters perfect their famous cordial, a batch so special, they intend to send it, with reverence, to President Roosevelt himself. The sisters, childless and proud, see in Jason not just a helper, but an heir, a legacy reborn. So when they appear unannounced at the Walton dinner table, proposing to adopt Jason, to raise him as their own, Olivia's composure is tested like never before. Fury rises, but so does grace. With quiet dignity, she declines their generous offer, yet still sets 2 extra places at the Thanksgiving table. Because on Walton's Mountain, even the deepest disagreement bows to hospitality. Mary Ellen, meanwhile, wages her own battle on the stage of the school auditorium. Auditioning for Pocahontas in the Thanksgiving play, she faces her longtime rival, Martha Rose, who arrives in full, authentic regalia, feathers and all. But Mary Ellen doesn't need costume, she has conviction. And when curtain rises, it's her voice, clear, strong, true, that carries the story home. And Ben? Poor Ben, ever the overlooked middle child, longs for a moment in the sun. He pleads with Grandpa Zeeb, "Let me hunt the Thanksgiving turkey." Up the mountain they go, rifle in hand, hope in heart. But the shot misses. Undeterred, Ben trades pride for pragmatism and negotiates with a local turkey farmer for the plumpest bird in the coop. Not wild, not heroic, but his, and somehow that matters more. Thanksgiving Day dawns, calm, golden, still. The table is set, candles glow, laughter rings. The Baldwins sit graciously beside the Waltons. Mary Ellen beams in her Pocahontas shawl. Jason glances at his mother, relief and love passing wordlessly between them. Ben proudly presents the turkey. "Our turkey," he insists. And then, a knock at the door. There, leaning lightly on Dr. Vance's arm, stands John Boy. Pale, thin, but here, the room falls silent, then erupts. No speeches, no fanfare. Just a chair pulled close, a hand on his shoulder, a bowl of cranberry sauce passed down the line. As the family bows their heads, John, Olivia, Grandma, the children, the guests, Reverend Fordwick offers the blessing. But the truest prayer is already answered in presence, in perseverance, in the simple, staggering gift of being together. That Thanksgiving, no one spoke of fear, of failure, of futures uncertain. They spoke of gratitude, not for perfection, but for second chances, for letters rewritten, for turkeys bartered, for roles earned, for adoptions refused and families affirmed, for a young man who faced darkness and stepped bravely back into the light. "Thank you," whispered John Boy, not just to God, but to the mountain, to his family, to time, which, in its own way, sometimes gives back what it takes. On Walton's Mountain, Thanksgiving isn't just a day. It's a promise renewed year after year that love, like harvest, endures.